Welcome to the capstone, part 4 for Jeffrey Seymour, class of Sociology 301, California Baptist University. My research question was, what effect does political propaganda have on public and public opinion? I chose this research topic because I'm a political science major and I have a vested interest in politics and also on the effect that propaganda, political propaganda specifically, has had on the country. Later we will discuss more of the specific groups that it has affected more, but in one way, you could say that everyone, in one way, has been affected by political propaganda, because who hasn't seen or heard a commercial, a radio spot, promoting or attacking a political candidate? All of these things is propaganda, which is, whether it's attacking or promoting an individual for public office that is running, it is designed to either smear, to make them look bad, or to make them look good in any way possible that they do that. So, what effect does political propaganda have on the public opinion? Is what we'll be discussing today. For literature review, one of the quotes that I brought up by this author was the first of these, talking about the principles of propaganda and kind of priming the subjects for propaganda. The first of these propaganda principles is to connect the idea or object you are propagandizing with some attitude, symbol, or emotion that people already know and feel strongly about. Propagandist must then know people. A.R. Goebbels has one rule of propaganda, which is to see with the eyes of the masses. In other words, you associate a man with a symbol or an attitude or emotion, whether you are for or against that person, and what that does is it makes a construct in people's minds when they see that, or when they see the political cartoon, or when they see the political ad, or meme on social media, or wherever, billboard on the street. It will have an attitude or a symbol or emotion that will characterize that person and elicits an emotion in people which will either help them feel strongly for them or strongly against. Or that's the idea behind it anyway. Also, one rule of propaganda, which is to see with the eyes of the masses, effective propagandists will have the ability to see what people see what the masses see, and be able to pander to that. That's one extremely effective way that people, especially political advisors, it's an important tool that they will use in order to get a good feel of what the public sentiment is, and then to exploit that by propagandizing their candidate and attacking their opponent. One of the more important articles that I came across in the literature review was the impact of SMS texts on the political attitude of youth. As everyone knows, adolescents heavily use social media. Their biggest users, most active users, use it almost all day, it seems. And so they are much more prone to social media-based propaganda. There's that old saying that if you get someone to drink Coke when they're young, that they'll always drink Coke. The same's true, or same theory applies for politics. And political advisors and pundits know this, and so when they're developing their propaganda, they will aim a large portion of it to the youth, in getting them to start thinking about political issues and basing their propaganda on things that are relevant to and important to adolescents. And obviously social media is, and so they use that as a vehicle to deliver their propaganda to adolescents. Let me bring up an article. I wanted to highlight for you here. SMS has the largest reach. SMS is the text message. SMS has the largest reach to the audiences today. Sterling reported that about 3.5 billion SMS text messages are being sent in the United States of America every day. Mobile medium is a larger medium than the internet. SMS marketing is a far better way to affect the audiences and sell the product, or to influence the minds. Statistically, about 90% of the Americans do own a cell phone. About 154 million people are regularly using SMS in the USA. So when we're using the SMS more than the internet, it becomes a prime way to reach people, whether that's, in this case, it's with political propaganda. Also, in this next paragraph, when it says the people of the Philippines claim to be the texting capital of the world, although this assertion is not true, but still they are one of the largest consumers of SMS. Filipinos are using SMS for social, economical, as well as political purposes. I have a unique perspective on this because I lived in the Philippines for 2 years, and texting is like the claim here that the texting capital of the world. I wouldn't doubt that. Everyone has a cell phone, no matter. The Philippines is a very poor country, and despite that fact, everyone has a cell phone, and they have a cell phone, but they don't have smartphones. Those are too expensive over there, so they still have means of texting, and that's a huge way that people communicate. One of the biggest ways that people communicate is via text. And so, for instance, President Duterte, who's the current president over there, who won election the other year, no doubt he used SMS as a primary vehicle to reach a lot of people that he may not be able to reach due to it being a third world country, and commercials on television would not be as useful, or would not be as effective than a text message might, because you can send out a mass text, everyone gets it, whereas a television commercial, not as many people will get it because they don't have the telephone. Second article I wanted to bring up was on the Obama bring it up for you. The impact of the Obama administration in their use of political propaganda. The chart I wanted to show you shows the analysis of how they used propaganda. As you can see, it's very complex and very detailed, and it has all manner of different ways of reaching people and using propaganda, from their politeness methods and the cooperative principle to their style of rhetoric and the pieces that they would use there. In classic propaganda, such as repetition, this isn't showing this to you isn't an attack against the Obama administration or President Obama himself, because every political candidate does it. This is just the only one that first came up. So, going back to the literature review here, I wanted to make sure we're talking about this point, that adolescents are extremely prone to social media-based propaganda. I think that's very important. It's one way that they're getting young people to get more involved in politics. And from the success of Bernie Sanders in the last political election, last presidential election, I'm sorry, it has proved to be it was very, very effective. The research method that I used was the survey. I utilized the survey because survey is able to reach a much wider audience than a quantitative study would. A qualitative study has the ability, like the SMS text message being sent out, it reaches a wider audience, and so you get greater feedback, and you get, in my opinion, you get a greater feel for public sentiment and what they're feeling and what they believe. The only drawback I feel that I see with the survey, is I think that you run a greater risk of having people give nonsense answers, or answers that don't make sense, or that they aren't truly interested. But for the sake of time, we'll keep going. Skip down here to findings. That's important. My findings on this research was that propaganda is an extremely widely used tool. Our focus today was on the political use of it, but all companies really use it. As I mentioned earlier, Coca-Cola, alcohol companies do it, cigarette companies. There's not really any companies out there that don't use that, because it's such an effective tool for people to get people to buy things. Both sides of the political aisle use propaganda. The Democrats, the Republicans, the Green Party, everybody, you name it. You're really getting out of time here. For the conclusion, propaganda is something that is all around us, so you know what people are saying and why. Research, I think it's important that people research different media outlets for their motivations and their political leanings, because they all have them. And propaganda is here to stay, because, very simply, it's very effective, it works, and that will be the future. So, hope you enjoyed the presentation. Here are the references. Sorry, we're very short on time now. Oops, there they go. References there.